Hello, and welcome to this model titled History of CT Scanners. Computed tomography, or CT, is known as one of the most important diagnostic tools of the 21st century. With this tool requires competent operators. Each subsequent technological generation has required the technologist to be even more highly efficient. This module will discuss the evolution of the CT scanner and explain how these advancements have changed the process of CT. Let's look at our objectives for today. After completion of this module, you will be able to understand the evolution of the CT scanner, explain the principle of tomography, compare 2D, 3D, 4D, and 5D images, and define dual energy CT scanning. Please remember these as you progress through this module. Let's start with the first section, where we will explain the principle behind computed tomography, how a 3D volume is reconstructed from different 2D plane sections, and the main advantages of the imaging technique. Computed tomography is one of the most important diagnostic tools of the 21st century. While this tool requires competent operators, each subsequent technological generation has required the technologist to be even more highly efficient. This module will discuss the evolution of the CT scanner and explain how these advancements have changed the process of CT. A volume is reconstructed from the axial images which are already acquired. Volume formation involves stacking images to form a volume with some pre-processing. The principal advantages of CT are no superimposition of structures, better contrast resolution, and third, axial plane and 3D reconstruction. Body planes are hypothetical geometrical planes used in medicine to divide the body into sections. They are commonly used in human anatomy to describe the location or direction of bodily structures. Reference planes are the standard planes used in anatomical terminology. They include the sagittal plane, the coronal plane, and the transverse or axial plane. While these are the major reference planes of the body, other planes are commonly used in relationship to these three. Next, we will talk about the scanner components, which are used to help produce images. There are many parts needed to acquire an image. Let's start by looking at the general components. The main components of a CT scanner are X-ray source and the generator, collimator, detector, data acquisition system, gantry and table, computational hardware, and finally the display monitor. Some patients cannot be scanned because their weight limit exceeds the table's capacity, which is generally in the range of between 400 and 500 pounds. The Toshiba Aquilon 1 has a capacity of about 660 pounds. The detectors, which receive the transmitted X-ray beam after it has passed through the patient, converts the photons from X-ray beam to an electrical signal, while the data acquisition system, or DAS, converts the electrical signals from analog to digital. Detectors in a CT system should be small in size and be capable of responding with extreme speed to a signal. The tube collimator reduces patient dose and scatter radiation by restricting the volume of tissue that is being irradiated. This principle is the same as it is in diagnostic radiography. The tube collimation is pre-patient, restricting the tissue irradiated, and the detector collimator is post-patient collimation. See the notes on this slide to further explain. Technology for computed tomography very quickly advances after Godfrey Hounsfield's work in 1970 and 1971. Though in the early 1960s, preliminary work was being researched. Hounsfield, along with Röntgen's discovery of X-rays, were two of the most outstanding contributions in medical imaging. The original EMI head scanner was considered the first generation, but things progressed rapidly after Hounsfield's discoveries. Let us look at the generation of scanners over the years. A CT scan, or computed tomography scan, makes use of a computer-processed combination of many X-ray measurements taken from different angles to produce a cross-sectional image of specific areas of a scanned object, allowing the user to see inside the object without cutting. A CT scan is typically called a slice, as it corresponds to what the object being scanned would look like if it were sliced open along a plane. So, while a typical digital image is composed of pixels or pixel elements, a CT slice image is composed of voxels or volume elements. Tomographic movement is intended to isolate a plane within a volume by combining the movements of the tube and the image receptor. Tomography was often used in diagnostic radiography to visualize the layers of the kidney. Detectors should have a high capture efficiency, a high absorption efficiency, and a high conversion efficiency. Early scanners used a scintillation crystal which converted X-ray photons into light photons. Newer solid-state detectors use a scintillation material such as cadmium tungstate or a rare earth oxidized ceramic that is bonded to a photodiode. Modern scanners use multiple rows of detectors. When the X-ray beam interacts with xenon gas, the gas is ionized. The electrons produced then travel and accumulate in the anode. This is then transmitted into an electrical signal which is sent to the computer system. The first generation was a head unit only. It used a linear scan motion at each degree from 0 to 180 degrees, with rotation paired with a single detector. It took about 4.5 to 5 minutes scan time per slice, using a single ray pencil beam. Things advanced quickly from here. In the first CT generation, the source detector rotated slightly and a subsequent set of measurements was obtained during a scan and rotate system. In the second generation, a single projection, narrow fan-shaped beam was used instead of a pencil slit. It had a linear array with as many as 30 detectors. Because of the loss of collimation, the amount of scatter radiation was increased. The scan time was reduced to about 20 to 90 seconds per slice, which was short enough to allow imaging of the whole body. In the third generation, huge modifications were applied. These units used a wider fan-shaped beam and a curved array of 250 to 750 detectors to acquire a single projection. The detectors could be collimated to reduce the amount of scatter. Scanning times were reduced to between 1 and 12 seconds, allowing images to be produced sequentially to approximate dynamic functions, though in a crude manner. As a result of a competitive contract which was awarded to the American Science and Engineering Company, AS&E, the fourth generation of CT scanners was developed. It used a wide fan beam and 600 to 2,000 stationary detectors arrayed in a 360-degree ring. With the ring of detectors, movement of detectors was eliminated. The scanning time for this generation was 1 second or less, with some scanners capable of dynamic scans in the range of 15 scans per minute. In the fifth generation, the X-ray tube was a large ring which circled the patient, as opposed to the detector ring. This generation was used for cardiac tomography imaging and was referred to as Cine CT because the images were essentially anatomical movies. It was capable of 50 millisecond scan times, which could produce 17 slices per minute. Helical scanners were made possible by advances in slip ring connection technology. Consisting of brushes that fit into grooves, slip rings permit the current and voltage to the tube to be supplied while the tube is in continuous rotation. The primary advantage is a shorter scanning time, which allows less contrast media to be used. CT slip ring technology was introduced to enable helical or continuous rotating scanning. Prior to the introduction of slip rings, only axial scanning was possible, which needed to stop in reverse direction of rotation after no more than 700 degrees due to the finite length of the attached cables. slip ring technology eliminated the need for cables and enabled the continuous rotation of the gantry components. The seventh generation, introduced in 1998, gave us the most recent advances. This usually uses 64 to 128 adjacent multiple detector arrays in conjunction with a helical scanner. The collimator spacing is wider, and more of the X-rays that are produced by the tube are used in producing image data. Scanning time is 0.25 seconds. By definition, dual energy is the possibility of generating an image using two different energies. It can use a monotube with an ultra-fast switching between low and high kilovoltage peak, or 80 and 140. Or it can use bitubes with simultaneous acquisitions using both tubes, 80 and 140 kV, or 100 and 140 kVp. This video shows the gantry movement around the patient during acquisition. This slide shows the evolution of CT imaging over the years. When we look at this table, we see the evolution and comparison of CT advancements over the years as described in the explanations of the generations of CT scanners. We can now begin to look at the differences in 2D, 3D, 4D, and 5D images, as well as a combination of some of them and how they are used. We will discuss cinematic rendering and hybrid 3D CT. This slide shows us axial and coronal images in a 2D scanning mode. The image on the left side shows the circle of Willis with the superior sagittal sinus reconstructed using a volume rendering technique. On this slide, you will see a few examples of hybrid 3D imaging. All new scanners are now hybrid PET-CT scanners. The CT portion of these systems takes advantage of recent developments in multi-detector CT technology. In reality, PET-CT scanners are two separate machines in close proximity with a single table that moves the patient between the two. The PET and CT data are acquired sequentially. 4D scans show us movement in 3D images, with time being the fourth dimension. The first model of the 256 slice 4D CT scanner was developed in 2003. In 2007, the 320 slice Aquilone 1 multi-scanner CT was introduced at RSNA. This scanner can be used in neurological and cardiac imaging and other body applications where entire organs can be scanned very quickly. 5D scanning, or 3D plus dual energy plus time, is the fusion of anatomical images from CT and the functional images from nuclear medicine or MRI. Five-dimensional or 5D images are dynamic 3D images that are acquired at multiple times. A typical example would include a dynamic cardiac CT scans and or gated cardiac MRI acquired at 3 monthly intervals and dynamic cell growth and shape change at weekly intervals. This slide shows examples of 4D and 5D scanning. Moving forward, this slide shows different examples of 5D and 3D scanning. These are scans from CT, PET, fused image, and a 5D and 3D image for your comparison. The images in this slide show 3D scanning using a dual energy technology that was discussed previously. Other examples of images in this slide showing 3D scanning using dual energy technology. Notice how detailed the tendon and the bone marrow are. These are additional examples highlighting articular gout as well as a pulmonary nodule, also using dual energy technology. Cinematic rendering is a novel post-processing technique for 3D visualization of CT image data. Compared to volume rendering, cinematic rendering results in a more photorealistic representation of anatomy and provides the best image quality for high-density structures. We hope you have enjoyed learning the history of CT in this module. Prior to taking the examination, please reread the module objectives to verify that you have no additional questions to review.
Thanks for watching. To purchase the full course and earn your CE credits, click on the link in the description or head on over to our website at www.medical-professionals.com. And while you're there, check out our All Access Pass, where you can get unlimited CE credits for your state and ARRT renewal for just $49.99. We also offer a host of free resources to make it easier than ever for radiologic technologists like you to achieve excellence. Check out our free radiology CE webinars, clinical reference guides, and free CE courses on our website today. Be more than just certified. Choose medical professionals.